So yes, my presentation will be focusing on how to implement renewable energy solution with the focus on developing local capacity. So if we go to the next slide, just to put a little bit of context, why are we having this webinar and these discussions today? By a question, how much green energy gas are we producing? If we go to the next slide, it's a lot. It's over 50 million tons, and 2/3 of it comes from energy and transport. Hence, this webinar that is discussing a lot about various ways of generating energy. If we go to the next slide, perhaps another important element on it, on why it is so important to develop local capacity, is that if we are not having everybody contributing towards reducing our green gas emissions, it won't be enough. No one must be left behind. Everybody must be contributing, including the humanitarian sector and the least developed countries. So if we go to the next slide, for those who don't know UNDP and why we are involved in it, perhaps a quick overview of who we are. The main point to take from this slide is that we have presence in 170 countries, and that is very important if we want to make sure again that everybody is contributing and that no one is left behind. As I said, it is not enough to have just the developed world, Denmark, Germany, US, China, and so on, to putting efforts into reducing the green gas emissions. If we go to the next slide, this is quickly more information about UNDP. And again, you see that our focus nowadays is on climate change, sustainable development, and democratic governments and peacekeeping. To enable these three main focus, a sustainable and reliable source of energy is key to achieve these objectives. Going to the next slide. And yes, to summarize that we want to leave no one behind, and going to the next slides again. What do we do in UNDP to achieve this thing? So if we go to the next slides, we approach implementing smart renewable energy through an overall concept with a vision of creating smart facilities to build local capacity and to inspire a movement. Again, one installation of solar panels is not enough. It has to trigger a movement so that one installation inspired 10 other people to do the same. And these 10 people inspire another 10 people to do the same. And then we have an exponential growth of renewable energy solution in that country office. To do that, we need to have an ecosystem, to build a local system with business locally involved in supporting this global movement. If we go to the next slides, it's a mix of challenges and why are we not able to scale up renewable energy solution as easy as we would like. Just to summarize that very quickly, the first impediment, the first barrier to do that is the lack of local capacity. These green energy solutions can be quite complex. Therefore, it's very important to have technical expertise and the know-how on how to do it. The second barrier is the lack of investment instrument. So although the business case may be very favorable, if there is no investment modalities, and we are depending on just upfront investment, that's something that prevent many organizations in the humanitarian sector to go ahead with these solutions. If we go to the next slide, that gives you an overview of in implementing renewable energy solution. It's important to put it into a whole that we call smart facilities, which is a fusion of what is known as smart cities and the fourth industrial revolutions with Internet of Things, electric vehicles, digital, artificial intelligence, and so on. So the important is that everything in your facilities is interconnected and well integrated with your solar panels. So we can do things like the previous presentation from Pakistan, net metering, for example. Or we can use electric vehicle as energy storage solutions. So as we say, the whole is greater than the sum of its part. So 1 + 1 = 3. As an example, we use electric vehicle not only to take you from point A to point B, but also as a means to take excess energy, should there be excess energy from the solar panels, or store energy when you have a power outage or something like that. So we like to have a model where solar panels are just not installed as a standalone, but in an integrated fashion with all the elements that you see on that slide. If we go to the next slides, and this is where we want to focus our presentations, this is how we have modelized our procedures and model to implement green energy solutions. So we have 7 steps, and behind each of these 7 steps, there are tools, templates, contracts, and so on, so that this is a turnkey solutions. It is also a recognized best practice within the UN system. When I say best practice, this is not because this is the best that there is out there, but the best practice is a term that refers to every time we do an installation, we go back to each of these procedures and we do continuous improvement. So when we do an installation, we have leveraged all the lessons learned, and we have the latest technology, the latest way of doing things, and so on. If we go with the first step, so it's very important to involve from the beginning the beneficiary, the owner of the system. So let's take an example in South Sudan. From the beginning, we involve the police academy into these 7 steps. So we let them do the self-assessment by installing Internet of Things to measure all the various information that we need, the load, power consumption, the generators, runtime, so on and so forth. And we do that using, as I said, the fourth industrial revolution technology, Internet of Things with sensor and all of that. And with algorithm, we're producing a business case, the second step. Again, always in collaboration with the actual user of the system. And that will put on board all their decision-making people and their technical people on the various options that they should be implementing. When they've picked their options, then we go to the step number 3, which is procurement. We have more than a dozen long-term agreements with various global vendors, international vendors, that have experience in implementing these systems where we work. And we also start the site preparation with the facilities where we're going to install it. It's very important to understand again that we try to have the best combination of international providers, and we ask them to partner with a local partner to do a knowledge transfer and training and guide them throughout the process. So this is mandatory when we do our request for proposal. Then we select the vendors, and then we do the site survey, the design, and the installation. The site survey, the design, and installation has to be done mainly by the local partner, under the guidance of the global vendor with whom we have the long-term agreement. And then we go into the last step, and it's been mentioned before by other presenters, the operation and maintenance. This comes with a 3-year operation and maintenance, where we monitor the installation 24/7, and we do optimization on a biannual basis. We produce performance report to see how the system is performing and see how we can improve it, and so on. So in a nutshell, we're trying to leverage the expertise of global vendors to guide the local partners and build an ecosystem locally that is sustainable. Because after we have done with this installation, we have a few businesses locally that have now the expertise and the business appetite to go out and install more of the system. So that's a little bit the idea behind the 7-step procedures. If we go to the next slide, perhaps very quickly to say why this is important to follow these 7-step. And one of the reasons is that it offers a structured and well-defined terminology that is proven and that is that has the best practice on how to install solar panels. So it really helps in places where there's no experience or no capacity yet. All you have to do is follow these steps, use these tools and resources in order to have a successful implementation. We can go to the next slides.
Gerald, we are over time.
Yeah, okay, so I will just conclude perhaps with a few success stories. So in Liberia, this is one of the places where we have installed one installation, and then it has produced an ecosystem where we now have multiple installations going on there in 13 other country offices. If we go to the next slides, we also have South Sudan there. And to conclude, this is a little bit of a footprint, the next slide, of how many solar panel installations we have. So I'll just conclude by saying that the key message is one project won't make a difference if we are to tackle climate change. And to have everybody to contribute, we have to focus on building local capacity and to trigger a movement. The best practice that provide in a showcase is the best way to trigger a movement locally, and we're have had these success stories in a few places. Also, perhaps to conclude, part of these 7-step, we have training packages that we offer. So we're happy to share the kind of training we can offer. One is the 7-step best practice implementation for renewable energy. We also have training on smart facilities, energy efficiency, and energy audit. So on this note, I'll just conclude here and happy to answer any question. Thank you.